Hello, my name is Allison Venable and I'm in Edu390 and I'm going to be reviewing the Urban Science Education for the Hip Hop Generation by Christopher Emdin. So I'm going to give a little introduction about the author. Christopher Emdin is an assistant professor of science education and director of secondary school initiatives at the Urban Science Education Center at Teachers College. He obtains a PhD in urban education with a concentration in mathematics, science, and technology. He also has numerous degrees for master's and bachelor's in many different sciences, including biology and chemistry. So to start off, Urban Science for the Hip Hop Generation was written by Christopher Emdin, as I previously explained. It is rooted in his experiences as a teacher, student administrator, and researcher in urban schools. He speaks on the strong relationship, the hip-hop culture, and science that he experienced firsthand in his life. This book examines many student experiences and many professional research that sheds light on the need for educational change in urban schools in the hip-hop generation. Throughout the book, Christopher Emdin speaks on many important themes that he wants the reader to focus on. One is to understand the influence of hip-hop and the life experiences of the students in the urban classroom. For hip-hop generation students, hip-hop is not only a way of life, they define it as their culture, and it's important that teachers and educators understand this. The second theme is teachers must respect students' backgrounds and teach in ways that relate the information, most specifically science education, to their backgrounds so that all students feel important. And the third is the reality pedagogy. I will further explain this and go into more in-depth in all of these themes in my next few slides. So I wanted to start off with a very strong quote that I feel best represents what Christopher Emdin really is trying to say in his Urban Science Education for the Hip-Hop Generation. He states that I focus specifically on the urban science classroom because it is a space where I felt most marginalized from attainment in my youth and find the most challenge as a researcher. In this work, Science and Science Practices in Urban Schools, what I argue for this work is the need for a means to teaching students in ways that meet their interests and ignite their passions. So I take this quote as a way of explaining how I feel about the book and how I feel that Christopher Emdin is trying to come off to readers that he really wants them to understand the hip-hop generation and what it means for teachers to teach in a hip-hop generation as well as in urban schools. I think a lot of teachers, it's hard for them to grasp these concepts, and I wanted to just start off with this quote because I felt it really represents what Christopher Emdin is wanting the reader to examine. So for the first theme that I chose was the writer wants the reader to understand the influence of hip-hop and the life experiences of the students in the urban classroom. I took a quote from the book that I felt best represents the theme that I chose. In the instruction of science, particularly in urban settings, where a majority of students express the extreme thoughtfulness and creativity that comes with being a part of hip-hop, and the nature of instruction evolves around the cramming of facts the omission of the context surrounding advances in sciences, and limited opportunities to utilize one's creativity to make sense of science. I took this as many hip-hop generation students are very, very, very creative, and it's hard to expect students to cram facts and pass tests when they don't learn that way. You know, some students express themselves creativity, and it's important that the teachers understand how to teach science in a way that allows them to express their creativity and work in groups together. The second theme that I felt best represents what Christopher Emdin is wanting to speak of is teachers must respect students' backgrounds and teach in ways that relate the information to their backgrounds so that all students feel important. I also chose a quote for this specific theme. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read the bottom half because I feel it best represents what I'm trying to grasp from the information. He says that I argue that the acknowledgement that a change in teaching practices may cause students to listen to a teacher when they normally would not is an indication of the awareness that for many students, their disinterest or lack of success in school is a conscious decision. He's trying to say that it is not that certain students cannot listen or cannot succeed, rather it is to choose not to. I think when students don't feel comfortable, it's easy for them to feel closed off, and they don't want to express themselves if they don't feel safe and if they don't feel that the information is being related to them personally. That's why I feel it's important for teachers to teach in a way that expresses all students. For my last theme, I chose reality pedagogy. Christopher Emdin wants to state the importance of this theme, reality pedagogy, with this statement. He considers the paradoxical realities within hip-hop by focusing on the experiences of the hip-hop participants, whether positive or negative, as a conduit through which they cannot connect to science. Which they can connect to science, I think when we relate science education in terms of hip-hop and in terms of expressing themselves creatively, whether that's with raps, with dancing, I think that if we express science in a way that allows them to express themselves, they're able to grasp the information and relate it to their lives. Could be positive or negative in this case. For my final thoughts, I want to express how much I enjoyed reading this book and how much it opened my eyes to many, many different themes in the urban schools, and I think that the writer does an extremely great job at expressing how teachers need to understand the hip-hop generation and how we need to teach students in a way that they are able to learn and feel safe in an environment where they don't feel judged, where they don't feel like they can't feel safe, where they don't feel like they can't express themselves. And for my last slide, I have my reference page, and I chose the urban science education for the hip-hop generation. Thank you for watching.